How you doing? I had this thought ever since I became a mobile gamer, and it became apparent to me in 2014. But there is a lot of people who constantly say that mobile gaming is weak compared to consoles. I just want to make this video go over some categories to really see if that's true or not. I have my iPad here. So the first category we're going to do is mobile gaming graphics of the console game versus the same console game on the actual console. My second category is going to be why mobile doesn't get as many console games as console. My third category is how mobile can actually get the same console games as consoles if mobile is so weaker than consoles. And then my final category is going to be, do mobile gaming graphics actually matter when you can play the same console game on mobile and even X current console generation games on mobile? Okay, first category, mobile console gaming versus playing the same games on consoles. Tell me if you all have heard of these mobile games. XCOM Enemy Within 1, XCOM 2, Civilization 6, Wreckfest, Grid Autosport, Divinity Original Sin 2, War Mongrels. That was about 8 or 9 games that I listed that are on mobile. That's only a small selection of games, but I feel like you get the idea. And the idea is to say that none of these console games on mobile look very much different from the actual console games itself. The only thing that sets them apart would be lower resolution and then lower or no effects. For me personally, I can deal with that because they are the same game, the same story. It's just if you like the game on consoles, then you like it on mobile. And a lot of people nowadays have phones, so a lot of people can't afford consoles. So it's great that these games are on their phone, no matter the graphics, just because they can play the game on their phone, and if they want the same graphics, the higher graphics, then they can play it on a friend's console. So 2. Why doesn't mobile get as many daily console games as consoles? I feel this is where people think that mobile is weak in gaming. Just because the mobile device doesn't get as many daily console games does not mean it's weak. What I mean is that consoles traditionally, they are made to be a stationary device. They can actually do one thing great, and that is games. That's why they always have to be hooked up to power, because they require a lot of power to run those high dynamic graphics. Consoles can only do one thing great. I mean, they can try to do browsing and all that, but all that is kind of mediocre compared to gaming, because they are designed to game. They are not designed to do anything else. It's a game. Because mobile is, they can do a lot more things. They're not marketed as gaming machines. And because they're not marketed as gaming machines, they're not really. They can still game, but that's not their focus. Their focus is not on games. And that's why a lot of the daily AAA games do not get ported to mobile. Because think about it like this. Okay, so if you're a game developer, right? And if you have a console that's specifically made for gaming, then as a game developer, you would want your games to be on consoles, right? Because that's how you keep them afloat. That's where the money is coming from. So, without daily AAA games on consoles, consoles would not stay afloat or in business because that's all they can do. I mean, if you don't have AAA games on consoles, what are you going to do? You know, it's kind of like looking at a car. A fancy car with a nice color palette is going to stand out better than an old, beat up, clunky, generic color. And why? Because it's eye-catching. Anything eye-catching is going to attract customers. And the consoles have done this a lot longer than mobile. Mobile is not weak. They certainly don't get as many daily console games, but that's because their primary focus is not on games, and that's the only reason. Okay, 6 and 3. How can mobile possibly get the same console games if they are so much weaker? As we discussed, mobile doesn't get as many console games because they are not designed for it. And because they are so much weaker, you would not think that they should be able to get the same console games. You would think that they would get lower resolution graphic games or little to no effects for their console games to be ported to mobile. But that's exactly what they do. They lower the graphics, they lower the resolution, they lower the textures, they lower or give no special effects because that's the only way their game can come to mobile, because consoles require so much more power to run that game. But it's also because consoles have a very long lifespan. Like, look at PS1 to PS2. So the PS1 came out in 1994, and then 2000 came the PS2, so that was 6 years. And then for the PS2 to the PS3 in 2006, that was 6 years. And then the PS3 to the PS4 in 2013 was 7 years. And then the PS4 to the PS5 in 2020 was 7 years. Mobile is weaker, yes, but because consoles have a long lifespan, then they are also more easy to port down the line to mobile. Section 4. Do console graphics on mobile matter if mobile can play the same game as consoles because of their long lifespan? Honestly, I will say yes and no. You need graphics in order to wow people into being attracted to your game. Yes, that is true. But if the game has a good story and good characters and has a thought-provoking story with good environments, then you can replay the game even if the game might not have good graphics, you can at least replay the game because you want the good story, the good characters, the good environment. So to give you an example, have you all played a game called Jade Empire? It was an old PS2 game. The reason why people like that game so much is because of the story. It's because of the characters and the environments. They're all unique. That attracts people. Graphics can only attract people for so much. But if it doesn't have a good story, if there's no substance, what's the point? The M1 iPad Pro is 2.6 teraflops in GPU power. And I know teraflops don't really mean that much because if you have bottlenecks like CPU or GPU wattage, then that can affect the teraflops and then that can affect the game performance. But it does give you some type of measurement. Whereas the base PS4 only has 1.8 teraflops. A lot of people use their mobile device for streaming. They use it as a flashlight. They use it as a photo editing device. They use it as music. They use it for podcasting. They use it to browse the internet. So a lot of people are more focused into that than just gaming. I want to make this final section thanking you all for watching this video. What do you all think about this? I wouldn't be surprised if mobile gets PS5 games within that console's lifetime because the PS5 is only 3 years old at this point. Every two generations of consoles, they increase the lifespan by 1 year. So the PS1 to the PS2 was 6, the PS3 to the PS4 was 7, so the PS5 is going to be 8. So we have technically five more years. Before the PS6 comes, we are most likely going to get PS5 games on mobile. We're not going to get all of them, but we're going to get some of them. And knowing, for me personally, I can live with that. I can live with the fact that mobile doesn't get all these things games, but they don't have to. As long as they get some of these very high power games that used to be on consoles, there's nothing to worry about. I made this last part a lot more passionate than I thought I would, and I hope this clears up to some people that mobile is not weak. It just doesn't get as many daily AA games as Switch or the PS4 or the PC, but that don't mean they're weak. It might take them a while, but they do get the games, at least at this point in time, in 2023. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all have a good day, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And I will catch you later. Peace out, y'all.